I don't know if this is a good idea, Rick. Analyzing ourselves. I think some things are better left wrapped up, Rick. Stop being scared of your own mind, Morty. Emotions are irrational. Feelings are micro-fleebed-sized brain concocts, and fear is just another emotion you're irrationally projecting onto me. Stop acting like a Jerry, Morty. I'm the smartest being in the multiverse, Morty. I'm a goddamn genius. The only frontier left unexplored is our own minds, Morty. We're going on an adventure, Morty. We're going to uncover the truth behind our own fucking minds, Morty. Every episode, every season, we're going to look at it all, Morty. It's a story you never knew, Morty. We're going on a story you never knew adventure, Morty. A Rick and Morty, the story you never knew, Morty. Rick and Morty on a story you never knew adventure, Morty. A full episode of Rick and Morty on youtube.com/Treesicle Morty. It's a story you never knew, Morty. A Rick and Morty story you never knew, Morty. Thanks for that great intro, Grant Rick. Yeah, I went to a ton of other dimensions until I found one where everyone was actually infused with their own Grant and brought them back just for that intro. You're welcome, world. To be honest, though, finding a Rick and Morty infused with myself was still less work than forcing myself to see the Emoji Movie. But I digress. It's finally time to tackle the mountain, to bring out the big guns, to go over Rick and Morty. I've been saving this video because honestly I wasn't up to date on the show until recently. Turns out when your career revolves around video games, you tend to not have as much time when it comes to TV. But one Hulu subscription later, here I am, ready to delve into the depths of what makes Rick a Rick and Morty a Morty. And not just that. I want to bring you into the light regarding what the show is truly about. Cause in some episodes, squirrels take over the world, in others, Rick has sex with a host organism, but there's underlying themes that emerge in every season that are vital to understanding what makes this show special. What makes it different, and what makes it win the hearts of so many people across the country that McDonald's sauce riots were inevitable. I mean, think about that for a second. This show has such a reach in so many over-the-top religious extremist-style fans that one episode was able to create a lasting impact that was big enough for McDonald's to bring back a sauce they retired decades ago. That is a form of influence that you can't just buy or create. It shows a connection between the fans and the show that is unmatched by anything else I've ever seen. That type of dedication to a show makes me question why the show speaks to people at such a deep level. What is it that lurks beneath the surface that we're all drooling at the mouth for? Besides Szechuan sauce? That's the question we're going to answer today. There's so many things I could talk about when it comes to Rick and Morty, and there's so many factors that all make the show as good as it is. Everything from the perfect pacing to the animation and art design contribute to this show's mastery in the craft of entertainment. The entire idea behind Rick and Morty is almost beyond brilliant. Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon have quite literally created a show that can continue on as long as possible. There's no jumping the shark in Rick and Morty because every single episode is supposed to be over-the-top insanity. It can never get too ridiculous because that's what the show is at its core. This is achieved through many different facets, and the plot per episode is obviously one of the defining factors that makes the show great. But the pacing is just as important. I don't know if you've noticed, but many Rick and Morty adventures start off fairly mundane. Morty is in school, or the family is having dinner, and the show goes from mundane to insanity in less than 5 seconds. It's a style of pacing you don't see in other shows, and it immediately engages the viewer because shit will hit the fan out of nowhere. And when everything goes crazy, the show is filled with vivid coloring that's attracting viewers to the screen. Each episode is filled with more science jargon than I've heard since high school, and it all goes into making a completely impossible and fictional world feel like it could be real. Other dimensions, other me's, teleportation, interdimensional travel, all these crazy science ideas that we hope are the future of our society are real in Rick and Morty. I don't understand how a single one of them works. I mean, wormholes have something to do with quantum mechanics where they literally bend space and time so you can go through one and you can end up in another time and place, right? That's my rudimentary explanation for how Rick's portal gun works. Of course, that makes me wonder why he has a flying saucer car if he can just teleport to any place at any time, but that's besides the point. The fact that these things exist make people think about higher levels of questioning. If we can go anywhere in any part of time, then what is time? time doesn't mean the same thing it does to us when you can control it and use it. When Rick and Morty go to other worlds populated with other people, it makes us question whether or not there's life on other planets and whether we're smarter or actually much stupider than we believe our race to be. And yet all these human ideas, spas, airport travel, bars, sex, all these things exist outside of our race in Rick and Morty. It makes the show connect with the viewers despite being so high-brained on the science side. But if every other planet and dimension has everything we have, then what's the point of us? The show makes us think about our very existence. Are we as humans unique? Am I unique? Not just in my own species, but throughout the multiverse? Am I actually special because of who I am? And that question brings us to the most important theme in Rick and Morty, the uniqueness of the self. Who are you? What makes you different from me? Different from the millions upon millions of other people that walk this earth? I talked about this in our last video about Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, but Rick and Morty takes it one step further. What makes you different from yourself in another dimension? When you and another literally share the exact same DNA, same personality, same everything, are you your own person or just a carbon copy imprint planted in every dimension? This show is known to have some troubling dark humor, and these questions may be at the center of that humor. We see over and over again how non-unique each person in the world is. Look at Jerry Burry, the Jerry daycare that first appears in the second episode of the second season. That daycare was created to appeal to every Jerry regardless of dimension because they all like the exact same things. The ending scene of that episode exemplifies this idea perfectly. Morty loses their Jerry ticket, so they just trade one Jerry for another like it's no big deal. That scene is meant to make you feel like you aren't important, like you're completely replaceable, like a part that could be swapped out for another at any moment. But Jerry is usually the butt of many jokes about how he's not unique in any way and completely replaceable in any dimension by any other Jerry. What really hits this theme home is the 7th episode of the 3rd season, the Rick-Lantis mix-up. In this episode, the Citadel of Ricks is being recreated with a democratic election on the verge of taking place. Our Rick and Morty aren't even in the episode really. They're off on an adventure to Atlantis. This episode truly makes you wonder whether or not you are special because up until this point, the defining uniqueness in the show had been Rick. Ricks are different. So insanely smart, they are a cut above everyone else. But the Citadel of Ricks destroys this idea. Here we see Ricks taking the bus, working factory line jobs, being construction workers, cops, news anchors, teachers, politicians, you name it. The smartest being in every universe doing mundane jobs while other Ricks are drinking champagne in their Lambo-style flying cars. At this point, we all know Ricks shouldn't be working factory jobs or construction jobs, but in a world where every person is just as smart as you aren't unique. So all these brilliant scientists are unhappy, trying to create a perfect society that was completely flawed from the start. Equality in people doesn't create a utopia. We take pride in what we can do that's different, that's special to us. We enjoy singers because they are unique in their ability to create music. We enjoy actors because they are unique in their ability to completely become someone else. We enjoy scientists because they are unique in their ability to make new discoveries that can advance our race or save our lives. Every person has something that makes them different, that we can share and be proud of. But this doesn't exist in the Citadel of Ricks. Yet, uniqueness does exist in Rick and Morty. Our Rick and Morty aren't a part of this episode. They made the decision not to be. Our Rick and Morty are unique because they go against the grain. They don't conform to the rules of society, even when that society is made up of their exact counterparts. That's what makes them stand out, and what makes them different from every Rick and Morty in the Citadel. But this example extends beyond our Rick and Morty and emerges throughout the Citadel itself. Cop Morty is a great example of this. What makes him a great character and someone worth following and watching is that he doesn't behave like every other Morty. He's hardened, unfeeling, corrupt, more like a Rick than a Morty. He's engaging because he's different. That's why he's worth following. The same goes for Evil Morty that just won the democratic election of the Citadel. But why did he win? Because he was different. When every Rick was just farting, he had something unique to say. He had something to say that none of the Ricks would have thought of. It's the people who are different that stand out. That's what this entire show is about. Being different. being someone, not because of who you are, but because of what you decide to do. Now, chances are, if you're a die-hard fan of the show, you don't agree with that interpretation. To be true to this work of art, one must have a dash of cynicism. That's where we here at Treesicle differ. The meaning of art is always a matter of interpretation to whoever is taking it in. Dan Harmon would likely tell you uniqueness is an illusion, and that's the whole point of the Citadel of Ricks. A society consisting entirely of exact genetic copies still mirrors our own woefully imperfect society in real life, even though we clearly aren't all clones of each other. So how unique are we really? Well, here's the thing. You can decide to work at a fraction of the salary as a boss who has the exact same IQ as you. You can decide to steal from people who are just like you. You can decide to not care about others like you and knock them out of your way. These are all different paths taken by the exact same person. And so your decisions are what make you unique as a person, even if you infinitely exist throughout the multiverse. What makes our Rick different is that he doesn't give a fuck about the Citadel and doesn't want any part of it. The uniqueness of the self is defined in this show. It isn't about your hair or your genes or your race or even what dimension you're from. Hell, our Rick has transferred bodies multiple times in just one episode, but that doesn't make him a different Rick or a different person. Rick is Rick because he's an asshole swearing, binge-drinking, brilliant-minded, defiant soul of a man who doesn't care about anyone else, even if that anyone is another him. Our Rick is all those things plus his decisions to go against the grain. That's my takeaway from the show. The self relies on your choices. What you do makes you unique and makes you who you are. You can be a carbon copy of every other person. You can take the easy route that everyone else does. But you can see what happened to the Ricks and Mortys that did. They're miserable, breaking with anger, realizing the horrifying truth of their situation. It's the ones who don't conform that succeed, that have fun, that are truly who they want to be. You can be Rick without needing the fancy gadgets and super high IQ. You can do what makes you, you. Don't conform to an idea just because everyone else is. Don't accept the state of things just because the people around you are. If you're unhappy, work to get to where you'll be happy. If you don't know what will make you happy, start trying things to find out. Be yourself, be unique, and don't be afraid of what others might think. The point of the show isn't just to entertain, it's to show you the reality of so many people in everyday life. It's to show you that just because most people live normal lives doesn't mean you have to. You can be your own person, you can be your own Rick. And that's even easier in real life because we aren't all genetic copies of each other. It's your world, your life, your multiverse. So will you become a carbon copy of every other you, or will you stand out and be different? That's my lesson from Rick and Morty, maybe even the truest lesson. There's billions of people on this planet, but you can be different than anyone else if you have the desire to be. And that's the story. You never knew. And that's my take on Rick and Morty. Did you like it? Did you hate it? You can let us know really easily besides writing in the comments. You see, there's so many comments to comb through, it's difficult to make yours stand out. But if you click the link in the description, you can join our Discord server where we answer questions when people ask them. Not just that though, you get to become a part of a community with some amazing people that have made our server their home and a place to hang out. So check it out, say hi to us, ask us stuff. It's by far the easiest way to reach any of the tree dudes, and we respond much quicker there. Plus, just by joining our Discord, you're supporting the channel and our good friends who work at Discord. We use it daily as our office space so we can talk about upcoming videos, communicate with our editors, and do anything else we need to do for the channel. If you don't have Discord, now's a great time to try it out. And if you already have it, check out our community server. Thanks as always for supporting us and what we do, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye everyone.